6 minutes.
Good last Councillor. I too am pleased to be able to contribute to this debate here this evening, because we have a huge issue, and we were known as the island of the thousand welcomes, the Céad Míle Fáilte. Indeed, we just welcomed some visitors from the Gambian Parliament here just a few minutes ago. But we have a huge problem with delays in employment permits for various. I don't know. I don't understand the reasons. We never get the reasons. And some people. I have one in particular who has work here, who has a partner here, and wants to come into work, and it's going on for nearly 4 years. And that partner is a very brilliant, hard-working, dedicated man himself, and he's come to the conclusion now that he's going to try and reverse and go the other way. So he's involved in a skilled HGV driver who works 19, 20 hours a day in the milk season, and will be a huge loss to his employer, to his community, and above all to his very elderly mother and his family and his friends. And it's a huge change for himself to move so far away from his native shore. That being said, look, we have the situation. Then it's the hospitality industry, and I've come from a committee where we're discussing that today as well. And I have no time at all. I want to condemn out of hand any practices where workers that come in here are working extortionate hours and are not getting the proper rates of pay and everything else. That wasn't of any truck for that. We have to have checks and balances, yes, but the hospitality industry is on its knees. They tell us we're at full employment. I don't believe we are, but that's what all the statistics regurgitate out to us every day. And it's difficult to know. But that industry, and they've been lobbying, you, Minister, they've been lobbying us, and I heard criticism earlier of a former colleague of yours for becoming a lobbyist. Certainly, I do agree that there should be some distance from members of this House and indeed the public service, county councils or whatever, or senior officials when they leave. There should be a public space, their time before they go into any lobbying position. But the hospitality industry, everyone knows about that. But we must also deal with the extortionate rates that they're charging here in Dublin, because it's damaging the brand, damaging our island of the thousand welcomes. It's damaging the work of Fáilte Island and all the good people in tourism throughout Ireland. And my good colleague here let me, I suppose he won't be happy with me, but there's one or two, I believe, in Kerry as well, that have huge rates, and it's given a bad name to the whole brand. So in New York they had a special rate for the hotels in New York and different for the rest of the country. I believe we're going to have to do the same here. But back to the issue in hand, the farm contractors and forestry contractors of Ireland are crying out for labour as well, as is the building industry, as in many petrol industries, the horticulture, and indeed the poultry and pig sector, all those sectors. And it's so difficult, so arduous for permits to be got. And the vast majority of employers are good and caring and responsible and respect the workers, and while there's maybe always one or two, that happens in every walk of life, unfortunately. But we must do something to bring it forward easier. I'm not saying then that we have no checks and balances, that we let everybody in here. No, we don't. That's something I have a concern about with the influx of people, and we saw the saga in Killarney, and I'm glad that that's reversed for the moment. And I had one of them on this morning, one of the Ukrainians, lady, delighted that she wasn't moving that distance, but didn't know where she was sleeping tonight, where they were going to be. But that'll resolve itself, I hope. And apparently it's because one of the companies in Mayo won't take the international refugees, where they take Ukrainians. And so are we picking and choosing? I was contacted during the week by a gentleman who says he has 3,500 places for Ukrainian people to come here that are fleeing the war. And he's in a logjam. I was contacted by one of his people was in that chain of supplies that he had. I can give you details. On a corridor in Tipperary town, a gentleman, I won't name him, and he has his hotel, he has his premises kitted out with a fair amount of expense and ready, waiting, and not a dicky bird, not a thing in the wall, not a penny. So he entered in good faith to deal with this situation that the government have asked, and did up his premises, and he hasn't seen anybody to come and has no idea. So I'm alarmed to think that a company or a man or a gentleman or whatever, I didn't get speaking to them to my office, that he has 3,500 places with a middle of a housing crisis of so many people. So I don't know what's going on. I genuinely don't know what's going on. I'm bewildered to wonder how this is happening. But I do think that if that man is kind of a coordinator or whatever we call him, that he can pick up those kind of places. How come your Minister for Housing and yourself from that section as well can't get your hands on these places? There's something wrong. Is the money so lucrative for the other, or is it, what's the question? There's questions. I have question marks. So we need to deal with it, but we also need to be sensitive, and we need to understand that contracting people haven't. The contractors are in a bad way for staff, and many contractors have been forced out of business this particular year. I know I have done them myself in my own South Tipperary because of the price, the cost of fuel and the cost of insurance, and the lack of any support. And you have, for some reason, Minister, refused to meet farm contractors of Ireland. And my time is up, so look, I'm appealing to you to be more understanding and sensitive. Good morning.